Leader, I want to commend each person in Ireland who is helping those fleeing the war in Ukraine. We will never know the true extent of the efforts of the volunteers around the country, but they're at work everywhere, and my thanks goes out to all of them. We are solely aware, however, that injustice and suffering continues the world over. Last week in Afghanistan, the Taliban reneged on a promise to allow Afghan girls to attend secondary school, with thousands of girls turned away from school gates. One girl, who spoke to Afghan news outlet Tolo, burst into tears as she described being turned away after waiting 168 days she had counted for school to resume. What is our crime? That we are girls. And on the other side of the world, a so-called liberal democracy shows similar signs of our authoritarian leanings. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau received a wake-up call in the European Parliament last week when he addressed it on the topic of growing threats to democracy, failing to count himself among that number. I spoke about last month Prime Minister Trudeau's in the first in Canada's history to invoke the powers of the Emergency Act, which was used to violently quell a legitimate protest. At the Parliament session, it was said that under a quasi-liberal boot of Trudeau, the world watched how women were trampled underfoot by horses, how the bank accounts of single parents were frozen so that they could not pay their children's education, medicine or for utilities, mortgages for their homes. I received, as I'm sure many colleagues have received, correspondence from an Irish citizen living in Canada. This one is from Porrick, originally from Connemara. It states, "I cannot board a plane in Canada to fly to Ireland because I am not vaccinated. The Government of Canada has set a mandate that states that no unvaccinated person shall board a plane, train or bus, whether to travel domestically or internationally. I believe it is the only country in the Western world that has imposed this sanction of the unvaccinated population. Although I was able to be medically exempt from my doctor for a PCR test, the parameters that the Canadian federal government set out to the no travel rule does not allow me, or likely does it include most people. The Canadian government has set the following terms as to what is not an emergency and urgent travel. Travel to visit family, attending weddings, funerals and attending to personal matters such as buying a house, seeing or caring of sick family members. Discretionary travel such as for a vacation or recreation, situations where activity can be held virtually. These are our citizens locked up in another country that cannot travel back to their own native home. It requires immediate intervention by our Minister of Foreign Affairs, Simon Coveney." If you just bear with me, I'm nearly finished.
We've gone well over time, Senator.
This issue of freedom of assembly and speech, free from government suppression, are timeless pillars of a free and functioning society. And yet these are timely also, as our media flirts once again with restrictions. The debate about proportionality of the extreme and unprecedented measures taken to combat COVID must remain free and open. I ask you, Leader, can we count on you to combat these injustices on either side of the world? Thank you.